Welcome back to the Packers Corner, guys. Great to be here with you. Kickoff show. We got a big show, lots to get through, and I'm excited to be joined by my dad, Gar. Schmity's back for the year, and we're gonna get after it. We've got a little bit of Schmity's allegiance to parse out here today. We're gonna talk about where his loyalties truly lie. There's been some controversy in the offseason. We got a preseason game to go through around the NFC North, and we got the big J.J. McCarthy news that we'll touch on. And then I have a proclamation or two I'd like to get through, but I want to start you guys off with a little bit of a hype video. The autumn winds are about to blow here, coming at you from 1970s Oakland Raiders, but we got a Packers rendition here, so let's take a look.
The autumn wind is a Packer, blustering in from the bay. With a rollicking song, he sweeps along, banging the drum all day. His face is weather-beaten. He wears a cheese-filled cash with a green and gold cape on his back and a frozen stiff mustache. He rumbles across the tundra, a hero brave and bold. And the fans all cheer and raise their beer as he fights through rain and cold. The autumn wind is a Packer, tackling just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and bask in the Titletown sun.
Gentlemen, great to be back here. Schmity, I'm sure you were probably moved by that, so maybe you'll change your position now. But it was a legitimate off-season point of contention here, talking with my family up over 4th of July, and we're fortunate to have a few Christensen family members here that have tuned into the show, and the people are wondering, are you truly a Bears fan or a Packer fan? Could you speak on that for us a bit?
Griffey, let it be known. Okay, that video that you just played, that wonderful video, inject that into my veins, my friend. I am so excited for the Packers football season. Not the Bears. I do get worried about our friends to the South, the monsters of the Midway, but let it be known, Packers Corner, our faithful listeners, that I am all aboard, Griffey. You wanted to talk about proclamations. Here's the proclamation, Griffey. We're already going to start popping champagne, Griffey, because this is a Packers Super Bowl run, my friend, and we're going to have one of those awesome seasons. Okay, I am absolutely elated that we have given a bunch of money to our friend number 10, the man with the golden arm. Okay, Griffey, this is a Packers Super Bowl. We are on a pack. It's a preseason week 1, and I'm ready for it, baby. I'm ready to be showered in champagne. I could give a care less about what our friends, Caleb Williams, Black Nails kid, I could care less what he's doing. Okay, while he worries me slightly, they got some good guys that catch the football. It's the Pack, baby. The Pack is back. It's ours. It's our title. So the North, it's ours. It's for us to take. We are the hunters, not the hunted this year. Mark my word.
Yeah, I'm so excited to hear it from you, buddy. I was a little bit nervous after some of your off-season talk and so forth. Oh, right down the gullet, right down the hatch there. But I got to tell you, I'm right there with you. Seeing Brett Favre run around there before he hoisted the Lombardi down in New Orleans, and it's got me feeling some type of way myself. I think we're going to be right back there before too long. You know, they're going to have to come up with a hat that can rival this one. And Schmity, I'm with you. We're out over our skis to start the season. I thought we were going to save bold predictions till the end. Dad, what's going on? Are we losing it here?
I hate it when you make me be the voice of reason. This is just terrible here. But I'm wondering now. Just a little nefarious thought snuck into the corner of my mind is to balance this euphoria that's going on here. We haven't even had a regular season snap yet, but I'm enthusiastic like you boys. But I wonder if Schmity is just holding out a small ray of allegiance to the Pittsburgh Steelers because Justin Fields has moved into the pole position as the quarterback over there in Pittsburgh. And I think he might be holding out with the AFC and Pittsburgh. So, but he sure did seem enthusiastic. He's already drinking the champagne. It's not Kool-Aid, it's champagne over there. So we're all excited. I'm with you guys. We should probably, I mean, we were going to hold back, but I guess we're coming straight out with our trump card. We put a little wager down, didn't we, Schmitty? We figured the odds for the Packers are never going to be any better. We here in February, March, what were they? Plus 2,500.
I think we locked in at 23. We're at 23-1, Mr. Gar.
We got her at 23, and it's already down to what? 18,
17, 8. Yeah, we're geniuses. We are literal geniuses.
Falling like a rock.
Well, I want to preface for anyone who may be tuning in for the first time, we're not normally quite this elated. Well, it's particularly Schmitty. I mean, you said at one point last year, we're not going to win a game the rest of the season. I believe that was after the Denver game. I'm not trying to say, throw any shade at you that way, but Schmitty's a bit of a yo-yo. But what's giving you the optimism here, Schmitty?
Well, Griffey, yeah, yo-yo, to say the least. I'm going to be crying. You might see like blood like gushing out of my mouth because I chipped a tooth as I fell down the stairs because I'm just so upset about a Packers loss. Like there's things that are going to happen this year, Griffey, that are going to test my physical and mental being. And I'm really glad to share it with the Packers Corner and all of our listeners this entire year. But it's hard to not get really excited about what is the potential of this football team, just knowing from week 11 how good Jordan Love was till the end of the season and what that meant and a playoff victory against the Cowboys and, almost getting us to the NFC Championship game. Like, how can you not, knowing that you literally have every piece that you brought in last season is back this year, and they're better than they were the last. It's just really hard for anyone to comprehend how this Packers team isn't a great word that we use and love, ascending. This is an ascending team across both sides of the ball, with the special teams really being the only question. And hell, we got a Keshawn Nixon and we got a Bisaccia that's supposed to right that ship. I'm really excited. I got hairs standing up on my arms, Griffey. It's just, we love this football team. They bring us a lot of joy. They bring us some other emotions as well that you're going to see come across my face over the course of the next 4 months. But right now, it's tears and it's no tears and champagne, Griffey. It's all happiness. I'm already ready to kiss you both. I'm so excited for this whole thing.
Well, I'm glad we're jacked up. I tried to say we're not a bunch of homers, as I have the picture of Jordan Love and Michael Jordan behind me here. So maybe people will be skeptical. Dad, what were your takes? What did you take away from that preseason game we just got to watch here? Let's dive into that a little bit.
Well, last year, one of the criticisms around the Deer Shack, if you remember, including our buddies and some of our relatives, was that Jordan Love didn't have the arm strength to throw the long ball. And I said, boys, just calm down, take a little bit of a deep breath, look at his college film. He's been able to make these plays. He's a first-year starter. Let's remember Peyton Manning in his first year, for crying out loud, threw 28 interceptions or something? The deep ball will come. And so there it is. Just a little bit of it. He's been hitting them in camp every other day. He's throwing one to Christian Watson. And so that you're going to see the deep ball. Christian Watson was just on Rich on the NFL Network over there, Rich Eisen's program, and ballyhooing the improvement that his quarterback Jordan Love has made, taking it up to another level this year. So, I mean, it's all coming up roses, Schmitty, and I'm glad you used the terminology I talked off the ledge last year when we weren't going to win another game, and I said we had ascending talent all over the field, and even more so this year. Look at the draft picks. If our viewers might remember, the last time we left them, I think we had our head in our hands when we picked something called a tackle instead of Cooper DeJean. And then we ended up with the other Cooper, Edgerrin Cooper. We ended up with Javon Bullard, who might be as good or better than Cooper DeJean. I mean, I think Cooper DeJean's a good. And then we get Evan Williams in the 4th round, who's just tearing it up and is a name that people are lauding all over the place. And it looks like, and we go out and pick Xavier McKinney in the off season, and all of a sudden a position of weakness looks like a position of strength. And it's all glued together by a young man by the name of Jeff Halfley, who you weren't so sure about in the offseason, Schmity, but I think your tune might be changing now. Mr. Halfley looks like there'll be no more worrywart shell defenses on 3rd and 5. So I'll just leave it at that for now. It's a very exciting all the way around.
Well, I want to talk before we dive into Halfling defense and some of the position battles going on there. I want to highlight my standout, who's a guy that we've both been pretty high on here, Dad, which is our boy Grant DuBose. And excited to see, I think it looks like he has a fairly reasonable chance to make the squad here. But I think there's a chance that he might make an impact. We saw last year Bo Melton come out and be the first 100-yard receiver for the Packers and was, an unsung hero in the early going. I think we might see something like that out of Grant DuBose. Schmity, have you had time to watch this guy and what he's put on tape there?
I've had the pleasure to, Griffey. He's really intriguing to bring in to crack that 6. The problem is with DuBose is that I'm not so sold that we're gonna have 7 wide receivers start the year. Okay. I think it's gonna be a hard 6 because you're gonna be getting those 6 to be playing quite a bit, that the last 3 are just gonna be rotating, even maybe the bottom 4. So to have DuBose as their 7th wide receiver, while I think that's really strong, I just don't know if it makes sense for the shape of the roster. But I'm really happy to have DuBose right now in camp. Part of me is also, you bring DuBose to the practice squad. I don't think he makes the roster right now of another NFL team, so I think it's a safe play to keep him off the starting 53.
We've got an early point of contention here because not only is he going to make the team, I think he's probably the number 5, Schmity. I think he leapfrogs a couple guys. I think he's 6 at worst.
Bo Melton and Malik Heath are on blast. Bo Melton had a very poor game last game, and this Grant DuBose is the real deal. 6'2", 215, looks the part. Giving guys the too small sign in college all the time, and this guy's toe tapping on the sideline, and apparently he's lighting up guys up on the run game with blocking. So it'd be a good one to follow, Schmity, and see where it comes out. See if Schmity's right, and he ends up. I don't know that he's going to get through to the practice squad, but I think Malik Heath or Bo Melton might be able to.
I don't think any of these guys get through. I'm sorry. We've got a crowded stable, and it's not a bad problem to have. But I don't think you guys are appreciating how good this receiving core is. I really think top to bottom, talking 7 deep, it's up there with any of them. I kind of jokingly said last time we were together, Schmitty, this is going to be like the greatest show on turf. And I think our top end talent is up in those ranks. Now we aren't putting the gold jacket on anyone yet, maybe a green and gold jacket, but I think after this year, you guys are going to come around. We'll get in bold predictions later, but I think we got quite a stable there. So it'll be exciting to watch. And we have bragging rights to figure out here based on the 53 already on our first point there. I think we got a point of unison here. I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on the kicker situation.
Well, just before we do, I think we
Sure.
can get Schmity to agree. I saw his eyebrows raised there. This is for sure the greatest show on Tundra. There's no argument there.
He's going to like
Anyway,
2010 or
you wanna cut it.
2011.
Have you seen the Sports Illustrated cover? That's the greatest show in Tundra. Okay, the team. What do we have? Griffey, remind me. You had your Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson,
James Jones, Donald Driver,
Hoodie Jones, Donald
Jermichael
Driver,
Finley.
That's
and Randall Cobb the next year. Yeah.
Thank you. Now I'll say this before we touch.
And raise you a Luke Musgrave and a Tucker Kraft. I'll see your Greg Jennings and raise you a Dontavian Wicks. I'll see your, who else you want? Jordy Nelson, and raise you a Christian Watson. I'm not so sure that these boys aren't going to be right there with him. We shall see. It's a viable argument, Schmity. I don't pretend to say for sure, but boy, oh boy, I guess we're all out over our skis here.
I
I'm not
see
so
your
sure.
Isaac Bruce, and I'll raise you a Romeo Dobbs. I see your Torrey Holt, and I'll raise you a Christian Watson. And that might be our third and fourth option.
I'll say this. I think the Packers wide receiver group is the strongest position of our roster makeup right now. I'll say that. I agree that is because it's the deepest. It's the one group that I feel most comfortable with looking across our roster, with the exception of Jordan.
By the end of the year, you may have very strong competition out of the safety position, which is another talker that we can
Get into that after kicker. Where are you guys on that front?
Sorry, we sidetracked you there. The kicker, okay, I'll start off. The kicking competition is over. Goodbye, Mr. Carlson. We are a championship caliber team. We need a championship caliber kicker who's done it, is a veteran, a grizzled veteran who's made game-winning kicks. His name is Greg Joseph. He's nailing those kicks right down the center of the alley. Carlson is knocking them in off the post and barely squeaking them in on the corners. And we can't have this on this team. And you know what? I'll just pose this to you, Schmity. If we put Mr. Anders Carlson on the practice squad, who's picking him up? Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree, Gar. Like it can't be a like we're playing like I'm going to a circus, watching a circus game, watching Anders Carlson try to kick a football. While the end result has typically been good, it's nowhere near where you feel comfortable. You're grasping. You're just, it's a big gasp every time he tries to kick a ball. Greg Joseph is the clear and cut favorite. He should be. It wouldn't even surprise me come week 3 of the preseason that he's the only kicker on the roster. Because you want to give these guys the mental breath leading into the season that, hey, you're our guy. And so Anders Carlson, the Alex Hale pickup, thank you for your service. We're going with Greg Joseph, and that's really the end of this conversation.
So now, Schmity, are you confident that our brass is going to make the right decision? If there's anything that could foil this euphoria that we have, because we've got so many good players, Goody's done a lot of good things, but Goody and Mr. LaFleur have made some bad decisions in the past. That LaFleur hung on to Joe Barry way too long. He hung on to Maurice Drayton, a special teams coach, way too long. They hung on to to Darnell Savage. They let Jake Kumro go instead of St. Brown. So I'm just hoping with my fingers crossed that they understand now there's no margin for error when you got a championship team. You need a championship caliber kicker. But I'm a little nervous. And LaFleur, let's remember, 4th and 8 in an 8-point game. And he kicks the bloody field goal. I mean, I love Coach LaFleur, but that is nearly unforgivable. And I hope I never see it again, but I'm a little bit nervous.
Fair enough. I want to switch gears a little bit, and we'll follow up on that as we approach the season. I'm sure we'll have plenty to get off our chests, depending on how that goes. Hopefully, we'll feel a little bit more at ease. But what position battles are you guys particularly in tune to the rest of the way here as we approach the regular season?
Griffey, I really like the Bullard battle, Bullard and Evan Williams. I think that's the most intriguing one because we're talking about a starting spot. And then from there, your sub linebacker, McDuffie, Tyron Hopper. I think there's a battle there as well. And your kicker, obviously, we just talked about it. I think it's clear. But if they make a decision to go away from Greg Joseph, you really got to question their ability to look at talent and see what's in front. I think it's clear as day who should win that one. But that's intriguing. And then last is Eric Stokes. I said the wide receiver position was the one that I felt most comfortable with on the roster. Right now, for me, it's cornerback. Is Eric Stokes really the guy we want to go into the season with? Christian Watson has been burning him all camp, and this guy is supposed to be as fast as anyone on the field. He was injury concerned last year. I just don't know. He just doesn't seem like he's grown up. I'd much rather give Carrington Valentine the shot at it.
I'm a big Carrington proponent too. Yeah.
So it's those are the ones that are most intriguing to me. And then also, lastly, the backup quarterback. Who's going to get that one? I think we go on to the rookie this year and let our boy Sean Clifford take a walk. He's really played poorly, at least from what I've read, and he had some bad looks in the last preseason game. So Michael Pratt, welcome to the football team.
Dad, what do you have?
The other way to phrase this is, what are our weaknesses? I'm thinking. We got competition all over the place. What a terrible problem to have Carrington Valentine or Eric Stokes as your starting corner. Good Lord. You've got, the two rookie safeties that are just blowing everything up, Williams and Bullard. Bullard, it looks like, is a slot. You may not see Keyshawn Nixon on the field. You might see both of those rookies playing a lot, with Williams as the off corner and Bullard in the slot, and a little less of Keyshawn Nixon out there. You got depth at corner. We've talked about the wide receivers. Two of our rookie linebackers are out with mild injuries. Edge Cooper and Tyron Harper haven't been playing, so it's going to be interesting to see the kid from Boston College, where Hafley's from, has been taking those snaps. But the one you didn't mention, Schmity, is offensive line. And we got the Jordan Morgan who's been playing right guard. And now they got Sean Ryan playing guard and center. And the word has been that the weak link is the center. Josh Myers is the one who's graded out the poorest. You've had, Elton Jenkins taking some center snaps. You've had Sean Ryan. Is Morgan going to push to be a starter? And who's your swing tackle? So maybe that's the biggest question, to get that settled and see what you got. And I just think with all the depth, swing tackle, you could say Jordan Morgan could be maybe pop out from guard and work one of your tackles. But right now we don't have that Josh Nyman type swing tackle that you can plug and play and feel pretty good about. So I think maybe that's going to be something that we're going to watch evolve as camp goes on here.
Tyron Hopper there, just to note
Hopper?
that. Yep. And
No,
with
Harper
Jordan
Valley
with Jordan Morgan there, I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts. I've heard this talking point thrown out there a little bit, but how do you feel about the investment of a first-round pick and a guard versus a tackle? Does that have any sort of coloration to how you view that pick, Schmity?
Not necessarily. He played left tackle at Arizona, if I'm not mistaken, Griffey. And for an offensive line that we've seen, I mean, goodness, last year, how much interchanging did we do? It was a bunch. Almost every week you had a new lineup, it felt like, in the front five. So for him to be the right guard, I think last year it was your best five, and so it's repeating itself again this year. Let's put our best five out there. I have no problem. It's been well documented I am not a Josh Myers fan, and so if he doesn't make the cut for the top five, so be it. You have one of these else. Have Elton Jenkins go back to center, for God's sakes. I don't mind that Jordan Morgan is our right guard. If he's part of that top five, so be it. I just want to see, come year 3, maybe next year, that he is our clear cut left tackle, because that's what we brought him on as. If he's not, right tackle for sure. But yeah, to spend a first round pick on a kid that's just going to be a left or right guard, that's a pretty tough look. Especially if you go ahead and next first round pick at Lambeau in Green Bay, you end up firing off another left tackle or right tackle pick. So it's fine this year. Next year, I won't be so happy.
Sure. Fair enough.
So the
Well, full steam
Packers
ahead for
are
this year. What do you have there, Dad?
Well, all the Packers draft is tackles out of college, with the exception of a couple centers on the roster. All their other linemen are tackles from college. Sean Ryan was a tackle. Uh, all the guys were tackles, and then they cross train them and see where they fit in and which is the best five that they put out there. So I think that gives you a lot of positional flexibility. If Zach Tom goes down, you probably slide Jordan Morgan out to the right tackle. If the kid from Penn State goes down on the left tackle, you probably slide Jenkins out there. You plug and play with some of your other guys, and it gives you a lot of positional flexibility and depth along the line. So I don't worry so much about where Jordan Morgan fits in. I think actually, what's the kid's name at left tackle from Penn State over there?
Rasheed Walker.
Walker. Boy, you got to give him credit. You have to believe they were trying to replace him, and he's just fought off all the competition, and so that's probably something to be fairly hardy about as far as our odds along the line.
I'm on board with it. I want to take a step back and look a little bit at a league-wide, a division-wide perspective here. Let's start out with Jordan Love being ranked the 34th best player in the NFL. Got hot, of course, towards the end of last year. What do you guys have in terms of expectations for him? He was, notably on a heater there. Is he going to take a step forward, and is that going to be the norm for him? Dad, let's start with you. Do you think 34 too high, too low, and what do you look for out of 10 this year?
Well, the conventional wisdom you hear from all the talking heads and the pundits is, oh, yeah, great second half. No, not so good in the first half. I want to see it for a whole year. And yeah, okay, I can listen to that for about 10 seconds. But does anybody want to, first of all, look at the cumulative statistics for the entire year? Jordan Love is in the top 5 quarterbacks for his statistics for the cumulative year. Even add in the poor first half, he's still in the top 5. Number 2, he was playing with a bunch of rookies who didn't even know what route to run. The coach couldn't even use the whole playbook. And if you want to talk about the first half, he really played well in the first 3 games. He had a stretch there where he threw interceptions at the end of games in desperation time. But if you want a criticism that I can listen to, and one concern that I have that I'm not entirely sure about, he had just such a fabulous second half, but the way it ended was almost inconceivable. A late throw over the middle in Brett Favre fashion on first down, total situational unawareness. And I have to just think that he learned, because we saw him do this in other venues during the year. We saw him miss Luke Musgrave on crossing patterns. We saw him miss guys when he was rolling out, and we saw him miss deep throws, and we saw him correct all of those deficiencies. But if you would have told me that Jordan Love would have thrown that last interception, I would not have believed it. There's no way I could have bought that. So I'm hoping that he learned his lesson. I think he probably did, but I think that's one question that remains. But with that aside, the numbers he put up with first and second year receivers, with a brand new line, with a replacement left tackle, with a defense that was porous and poor and poorly coordinated, you got to be kidding me. This guy is a top 5 quarterback without blinking an eye. He's not 10, 11, 12, 13. He's top 5 easy, and I would put him in the top 3. He's
Schmity,
paid number 1.
Yeah, he's paid number 1, highest paid quarterback in the league. We've talked about the pressure that puts on. I want to get your perspective on a slightly different question, though. Bigger red flag, that throw we saw at the end of the Niners game, or yielding a purse for your quarterback? What do you think there?
How did I know? I don't like that you're doing this, Griffey. I don't like it at all. Okay, the man has style. That's all that is, Griffey. The guy has style. He got paid. They put him on Hard Knocks episode 1, $25.5 million signing bonus. He's a little bit of an eccentric kid, but he's very, very good at football. And here you are just recutting it up. I swear, like you probably watched this 35 times last night, you sicko. You love this stuff. It irritates me to all hell that you just got to throw little jabs. This poor kid's done nothing to you. Okay, if anything, he's going to only elevate Jordan Love's game. He's going to be a really, really good football player. So I don't like that you're doing this and you're making me choose. I like Caleb Williams. I like that. I like what he's the cut of his jib. I think he's a good kid. Okay, so don't do this to me. All right, stop, please. I want to talk about the Jordan Love 34 rank. That's the kind of stuff I want you to throw at me this year. Not anything about Caleb Williams.
We'll
So
talk about
stop
the
it
film
right
we
now.
see here for Caleb.
Yeah, he looks really good, Griffey. He has the arm talent. I told you, I'm scared. You can't do this to me. I'm scared, Griffey. I'm drinking
How
champagne
about all the weapons
today.
they surrounded him with?
They have a lot of good weapons. The Bears team is going to be very good, Griffey. Okay. You have a slightly different question for me. Kiss my rear end. I know what you're doing, Griffey. Jordan Love is going to be, but that was a NFL player, like that was a player based
Yeah.
rating.
Yep.
Okay. If he has that same back end of the season, he does that for a year. I mean, it's an MVP talk. How does 38 and 12 sound? Would you do 38 touchdowns, 12 picks? I sure would. I think that's what's in him this year. I mean, goodness, he could brush up against 40. He has great wide receivers. He has all the arm talent in the world. I really, really think that 34 is just the beginning for him. He's going to be a perennial top 10 player to mark with every year.
I think the only
other
thing that
players in the league
stops
are gonna have respect.
the numbers is if we just run the ball in the end zone too many times with our new fancy toy, Josh Jacobs. You could see him pounding it in a few times, but no, I'm with you. I think it's going to be an exciting year for Jordan Love. Not going to be as exciting for Viking fans and JJ McCarthy. You never want to see what happened to him. And I don't even know how he managed to hurt his knee. He actually looked pretty darn good out there, aside from one throw he'd definitely like to have back. But it sounds like they're going to go in and try and figure out for him if he needs the full meniscus repair, or if they're just going to do, take a piece off of there and sew him up and get him back out there in a couple weeks. It sounds like, with the mindset the Vikings have for him, they might keep him on ice for the whole year just out of precaution and say, let's see what it looks like next year. Dad, what do you think the Vikings are going to look like with Sam Darnold at the helm for a whole year?
Well, I'm not done with Caleb Williams yet. Now, the Schmity went off on a tangent there that I thought we had put to bed this allegiance to the Bears, but I don't think he's been able to assuage our viewers who are concerned that he has a streak in him for the Bears. It's like a jilted ex that he still has got this fatal attraction to. We didn't even mention Caleb Williams painting his fingernails. Praise the Lord that we got a quarterback who doesn't paint his fingernails and carry a man purse. I will grant you that the tape looks good. It's preseason tape, and the talent appears to be there. The JJ McCarthy tape looked good too. I mean, I don't want to admit that about our adversaries, but we have to tell the truth here. So anyway, I'm just so happy we have a high character guy. It does appear that JJ McCarthy's a high caliber guy. I'll say this in conclusion for these quarterback remarks. The Bears had a nice Pac-10 quarterback by the name of Cade McNown who came on blazing guns, looked like the greatest thing since butterbeer, and he had a character problem and lost the locker room and flamed out. So I'm not saying, I'm just saying, let's see what happens with the man purse and the tie-dye underwear and the painted fingernails and God knows what else. Maybe pierced nipples, Schmity. Who knows what's going to happen over there in Chicago, but they got him, and I'm glad we don't.
Well, fair enough. There's one other team we better touch on here is kind of the last point before we wrap things up for our inaugural show this season. The Detroit Lions, who the roar was restored a little bit last year, you could say. And I was a little bit miffed we didn't get to give them one more shot in the playoffs last year. I think I would have liked our chances. We certainly had the big high moment when we were able to get done against them late in the season. Them and Kansas City back to back, of course. But what do you think that matchup's going to look like over the long haul, over the course of the season here? And are you fearful of the Lions? Have they reached their peak? They going to take a step back, or is there more to come for those folks in Detroit, Schmity?
The kitties are kitties to the east. Throw them in the cage, Griffey. They're not going to be much of a problem. Okay, put them back in the cage. Give them their kibble and their water. We don't have to worry about that team, that little bitty team. They caught lightning in a bottle. Not a team that I'm worried about. I'm more concerned about our painted nail friend to the south, more so. They have a really good team. The makeup's there. Jahmyr Gibbs, we were all laughing. The whole media, all the pundits. I mean, that ended up being a fantastic pick. They have some really talented players. Um, I just I think the NFC North this year is the most intriguing division in all of football, and I really think that the Lions are going to have a run for their money, even against the Vikings. This is every team's going to beat up on each other, and I don't know if the Lions are ready to stand that test. They got to play all the number one seeds from different divisions. It's not a walk in the park for them and their schedule that they have to play. So while I think they have a talented makeup, I don't see them having the year that they did last.
That's kind of how I feel about the 49ers a little bit here, too. I think we've seen that team reach its peak. I don't know if I'm all the way with you on Detroit. I think they're going to be formidable. You know, they might have a couple quarterbacks better than Caleb Williams. Hendon Hooker, look out. That might be who the Bears need to go take a run at. I'm teasing. I'm kidding you. Dad, how do you feel about Detroit, though?
Detroit is our main rival for the division championship. You can't take it away from them. If you look at their roster, they're young and ascending. Young tight end. They got the Amon-Ra St. Brown. They got the Williams kids from Alabama, who's a young talent at wide receiver. They got a highly regarded offensive line, good running back, good edge rushers on defense. Cornerback is a little bit of a weakness. But here's where their deficiency will foil them. When it matters most, and when a wise decision from the head decision maker is needed at a critical juncture of the season, we're going to be aggressive. Just for the sake of aggressiveness, and we're going to make a stupid call like we did against the Cowboys, and that's going to vault the Packers to the top of the NFC North. I'm
against the Niners there. Right?
Excuse me?
Against the Niners, I'm thinking what you're talking in the NFC Championship.
NFC North. To vault us to the top of the NFC North when Mr. Campbell makes a bad strategic decision. So I think that's the difference that we're looking at is decision making, a la Mike McCarthy's clock management. I'm putting a lot of faith in LaFleur because I already called out one of the worst decisions ever, but I think he's overcome that and we won't see it again. But I certainly know that the Detroit mentor has got a loose screw when it comes to being overly aggressive. Sometimes it's a math problem and you just need to solve the math problem.
Well, I said we would kind of maybe hold off on any bold predictions, any season-long predictions. We'll tease that for our next pod before the season gets rolling officially. But for today, we had a big proclamation to start the show. Schmity, I want to give you a chance. Any proclamations, any teases, any hints you want to give us as we wrap up for this evening?
My dear listeners, oh man, this champagne tastes and smells so good, Griffey. Tell me how this isn't a Super Bowl run. Really, that's I'm so ready for my soul, heart, being to be crushed. I'm so ready to just be dancing around the cords of toasters all season, knowing that one play could separate whether you see me on the next Packers Corner episode or not. I'm so ready for it, Griffey. I think the Packers, they're going to do me such a solid this year. They're going to uplift my spirits, the spirits of all Packers fans around the nation. They're going to provide us with the Vince Lombardi trophy. They're going to bring it home. I don't see any other outcome. I really don't. It's been in my dreams. I bet at night I think about my wife and the Vince Lombardi Trophy, and I maybe Jordan Love every once in a while. But I really, 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 really enjoy the time that we get to spend together every week and what we're going to do for all of our listeners on a week in, week out basis. They're going to ride with us. They're going to cry with us. They're going to laugh and love. It's going to be one hell of a year. I'm looking forward to it. The Packers win the Super Bowl. We're going to Louisiana. Griffey, flip that hat around. We're going to be singing. We're going to be prancing. We're going to be blowing confetti. I can't wait. Packers Corner from Louisiana is going to be so sweet. Here we come, baby.
Well, we had the autumn wind rendition for the Packers. We might need an when the Saints come marching down Packers rendition before too long here. We'll try to reel it in for the next number of weeks before we start approaching February. I'm just excited to be approaching fall here. We're starting to feel it in the air a little bit. We really do feel that autumn wind coming through. I'm excited for a pumpkin spice latte before too long, and the regular season kickoff, of course. Dad, do you want to leave us with any proclamations on your end before we sign off here?
The autumn wind is a Packer, rollicking in from the bay. He sweeps along with a great old song, banging the drum all day. And it's going to be that kind of year, boys. Feel the goose pimples raising up on the back of your neck. And I'll just say this. I'm going to hold off a little bit on my prognostications, but I've been hearing one thing, a common theme. Oh, the Green Bay Packers don't have a number one wide receiver. You know what? We got 4 number one wide receivers. And someday you may see Christian Watson as a number one featured wide receiver. You may see Romeo Doubs as a featured number one wide receiver. You may see Dontavian Wicks as a featured number one wide receiver. And all night long on this podcast, we have not uttered the name Jaden Reed, who was our number one wide receiver last year. Ladies and gentlemen, get excited. The time is now. The good old days are here. And let's roll out the barrel and have a barrel of fun all year long. Can't wait to see you guys next time.
Well, we all loved Jake Kumro, and I got to play against him one point in time, and it was cool. We were all rooting for him. I thought he could have done some good things with 12 at the helm, but boy, is it nice that we've got a different fleet of guys there in now, and he was the second best wide receiver on the team at one point in time. Now we got a stable of guys that are tough to compete with. So excited to watch it, excited to break it all down with you gentlemen. Thanks for joining me here tonight, and we'll be back in a couple weeks for one more Packers Corner before the regular season kicks off. Have a good night here, gentlemen. Take care.
Love you all.
See you, boys.